Salutations, my wonderful rafflers and rafflies of Scrap TF, and welcome to day 25? Sugar, is it day 25 or 4? I think it's day 25. Hold on, I need to check. Well, that's embarrassing. It's day 25 of our Scrap to Happiness project. I'm kind of surprised it took me that long to forget which day it was. In any case, today I wanted to talk a little more about friends. I realize that I brought up friends in earlier topics, and that it's important to rely on them when you're down and when you're stressed, because you don't need to go through these pains alone. You don't need to go through sadness or depression alone. There are people and groups out there to help you. But what are some good friendships to have, and how do you know when your friendship is healthy and when you should start having some red flags popping up? First of all, despite this sounding a little bit odd, is that a friendship should be beneficial to both people. Both people should be getting something out of the relationship. If there is one person in a friendship who is a good artist, and the other person in a friendship who is a good writer, if they have several things in common and they can do tasks for each other, like one can write the story and one can draw the characters, then they have a good relationship. That is a good friendship. But if you have friends where only one seems to be benefiting and only one ever seems to be happier on the outcomes, either you or them, you might not have a healthy friendship with them. Or they may not have a healthy friendship with you. I know it sounds bizarre that, it shouldn't just be on having, similar tastes and stuff like that, which you do, but it's important to see that as long as both are benefiting from it, that a relationship is healthy. I know that can sound a little bit controversial, and I don't mean it that you should only keep things professional. I just mean that there should be something that both people are getting out of a friendship, elsewise it will lead to frustration and struggles down the road. The second being, yes, you must have similar interests, or you must have a common goal in order for a friendship to be healthy. Even if you two or more people don't particularly like each other on certain aspects, as long as you're both moving towards something, a friendship can be healthy. Because people are willing to put things aside if it means that they can get to something quicker or achieve a better result from it. You'd be surprised of the resilience of people. With that being said, you should perhaps be aware of some red flags when a friendship seems to be going sour. Whenever you seem to be giving more to the other friend and they don't seem to give back, or you have to nag on them to give back, like it's not something they feel is necessary to do, then you might start having some red flags. This doesn't necessarily apply to, gifts, like you give them something for their birthday and they don't get you something for yours. First off, I'm not a big fan of birthdays, but I know some people are huge birthday people, and if somebody doesn't get them a gift, they're like, it's the end of the world. It's not. It's a day of the year. Get over it, please. Just gotta say that, I'm sorry. If it feels like you have to constantly nag somebody to get something done, that should be raising a red flag. If you feel as though they're always going behind your back, or they can't be honest to your face, or they say one thing and then they turn and say another thing a little while later, or they remember everything in which they were the right ones and you were the one who was saying the wrong thing, basically, they flip-flop, then that might be a red flag that would pop up. If your friend is not being good to your other friends, as in really friendly to you, really respects you, but then your other friends, they just absolutely despise, and they don't, they treat them horribly behind your back, and then they're all happy and sunshine when you're around. Number one, that should be cause for alarm, because they might be just a little bit too attached to you for some reason. And number two, that should be a red flag because they're not treating everybody equally. And I get that people don't like everybody, and there are some people you just cannot like, no matter how much you want to believe that you can like everybody on the planet, you can't. There are just some people who you will disagree with completely, and you move those people away from your life, and you find people you like, and you move on. But if they're your friends, they're friends that have similar tastes, or similar enough that you can get along, that there's something wrong with that picture. If somebody's going behind your back and being mean to your other friends, you should stop hanging out with them, even if your personal relationship with them is healthy. Because the rest of it is not, and it's going to negatively impact your other friends, and you have to be careful with that. If you have a friend who seems to be taking things, or taking everything you say in an incorrect context or in the wrong way, they seem to not be able to get your humor, and they happen to take everything in a different way that you meant it, and you're quite sure that you are conveying your messages clearly, then perhaps that should raise a red flag for you. That is something that can be ironed out with time, because it just takes a little while to know a person, to see, oh, they're joking about this. That sounds like something that, normally would be very, serious, but because I know this person, they're joking. That's something that can be ironed out in the future. But it still should raise some red flags. Hey there, head. It's important to keep healthy friendships and not just to have friends that pop up every once in a while. You need people that you can depend on in your life. We're naturally social creatures, so not being able to socialize does weird things to your body and your subconscious and your mind that you're not even fully aware of until you're not even aware of who you were anymore. It's pretty powerful stuff. And of course that's a very exaggerated example over a long period of time, but it can happen, and you have to be careful. I would like for people to have as healthy relations as possible, in whatever form it manifests itself, as long as both friends are benefiting and there aren't any red flags being raised. And that really could make me happier. Or could not make me any happier. It could. It could not make me any happier to see 2 people, 3 people, a group of friends getting along, because we're all people. So let's try and keep that in mind. Not everybody's going to be perfect. Not everything's going to work out. If it doesn't, you end it mutually as possible and you move on. It saves a lot of frustration and hate in the long run to end things as mutually as possible. If possible. If it does happen to go that way. Sorry, I kind of went on a weird tangent. So, thank you all so much for watching. If you are interested in talking to me, my profile on Steam is in the description below. If you're interested in joining up a gaming group, we have the Space Barbers. We are trying to get together a game of NG Death Fort. I believe this Sunday unfortunately fell apart due to real-life circumstances getting in the way, but we are going to plan again and get a real game going soon. So, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Ayy.